working with biological data, I think it's some of the most interesting things you can do in with machine learning these days. It's the data scale is huge. The applications are amazing. It's very high dimensional. And there's like so many sort of like features of about like working with biological data that you just can't have somewhere else.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley in partnership with Leumi Tech and sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Turing, Upwest Labs, and Hillel at Stanford. I rarely get truly inspired by a startup or a company or a mission. But this company is unlike any other I've met. When I walk into their offices, I see some of the brightest people I've ever met in my life. And when I think about the challenge they're trying to solve, I get truly excited and inspired. Meet Louis Voloch, Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Immunai. Louis F. Voloch is the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder at Immunai, where he's helping bring transformational change to immunology, cancer, science, and beyond. Immunai has a team of over 60 experts in machine learning, software, immunology, and genomics technologies, and are focused on mapping and reprogramming the immune system, which has allowed his team to build the largest database for immunological data in the world. Previously, Voloch was the head of data science and machine learning at Israel Tech Challenge, and worked on a variety of genomics and AI effort industries, including Palantir and at MIT. Louis Voloch, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. We're in the beautiful Tel Aviv, in the balcony of your offices. You've built an empire. I've gotten to be in this office about a year ago, and while it looks the same, you can feel that it's different. You feel how you've grown tremendously, how you're literally changing the world. That if I even begin to describe what you're doing with Immunai, I wouldn't be able to stop, and I would catch myself in a hurdle because it's just too complicated and too awesome. But the way that you look at computational biology in 2021 with machine learning advancements, bringing together the most incredible people in the world and in Israel to work on this project with you is inspiring to me. But before we get to that, tell me a little bit about yourself. How do you grow up as an engineer, as an entrepreneur, and what sort of frames your mindset as you go through your journey?
Yeah, and thank you for doing the interview as well as doing all of them. I really enjoy them in general. So I grew up in Brazil originally, so in Rio de Janeiro. And I lived there until I was 16. And I think a lot of what I did in my childhood was a mix of basketball with math. And then I used to have this linear regression that I kept track of how tall I was supposed to be if I kept growing linearly. And I was supposed to be 2 meters and 13.
Wow.
And turned out that my projections was wrong, which made me give up basketball and not math, which is also counterintuitive. And so I stuck with math, and then I moved to the US, and I went to MIT for my first degree and second degree, as well as started a PhD, which I took a break off, and which I'm still in that break. And overall, I've always been very interested in math, science, computer science, as well as how it relates to the world.
Right.
And I think those are sort of like my core passions.
So as you go through your academic career, pre-college, MIT, what is it about math that gets you going? It's not something that most people in the world understand. I think that I do share a similar passion that you do, but what is it about the subject and about the work that you're doing within the mathematical context that just really excites you?
Yeah. I think what I always liked about math is that it sort of like forced me to be thorough. I think that's there's sort of like no way around. There's just no way around it. There is no hand waving. There is no. That's really the only way. It's for you to deeply understand things and think about things like extremely critically and in a structured way.
Right.
And then that's the only way that things move forward. And I think that's one of the things that really attracted me to math. And it's comparing with entrepreneurship, it's different in the sense that entrepreneurship you do need to make both decisions that are not necessarily like fully cooked, right?
Yes.
But I think kind of like culturally sort of like shaped how you think, and just trying to be as thorough as possible in everything.
I remember going back all the way to high school, one of my favorite math teachers was all about proving everything we learned. I think some teachers enjoy going through the textbook and saying, these are the axioms that you should know. But then I had this one teacher who would feel the need to prove everything he taught us. And I feel like I'm looking at everything else in life in the same way that, you're making a speculation, even as an entrepreneur, you have to prove in some, coherent way why this will make sense, and then prove it in 3 other ways and show how exciting it is that you're converging to this sort of like one thought process. And I think that's also a good reason why a lot of mathematicians are great entrepreneurs. And so you're at MIT, you're starting your PhD, and there's this guy, Noam Solomon, and you're partnering together to solve, maybe, arguably one of the most important problems that one could solve where we are today. And so how do you meet and what are you aiming for?
Yeah, so one of the things that I bonded very quickly with Noam was exactly around math. And unlike me, who dropped out of a math career, he actually succeeded in it for a while, and he's an amazing mathematician. So I think a lot of the early bonding we had was around that, and just like this kind of like similar way of seeing the world. And I remember he just sort of like, amazed me from the beginning in that sense. And I think another part that we shared very much was part of, I think, what I described before, is that like I think we're both, thorough, but at the same time we want to have like a major impact in the world. And a lot of what we were thinking was, how to take some of these theories and applications in machine learning that we were, very much like a part of, and have the broadest possible impact. And very early on, we started to understand that we wanted, to have the broadest possible impact. We wanted something that, we could make, that we had a competitive advantage on, and also something that really helped improve lives.
And a lot of people say that, but most people don't actually mean it. You're literally improving lives. You're literally talking about our cells, our biology. Yeah. It's not just a buzzword, right?
Yeah, and that's a decision we made very early on. So, thinking that maybe in the first week or so, we were considering, working on things that didn't have to do with biology. And then very early on, we've made that decision of working with biological data. And, as a quick plug for all kinds of machine learning people out there, working with biological data, I think is some of the most interesting things you can do with machine learning these days. It's the data scale is huge. The applications are amazing. It's very high dimensional. And there's so many sort of features of about working with biological data that you just can't have somewhere else. And I think a lot of what builds us as a company is this thesis in a way that really the intersection of machine learning and biology is the future, and we want to be one of the first companies really helping push that forward.
I love it. What I love doing through the show is hearing about companies and hearing about, there's so many decisions that as entrepreneurs you're making, not just financial decisions or product decisions, but also hiring and culture and how you're building it. One of the things that, forever I'll be completely inspired by what you're doing is simply, walking around the offices and seeing the team that you chose to surround yourself with. Can you share with me a few statistics on the team, the types of people that you're hiring, with their backgrounds, and what are the types of people that have joined Immunai over the past year or so?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think it's one of the things we're definitely the most proud of.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So I would say some statistics about the software team. So they are about half Talpiot graduates,
which is the most elite comprehensive program you can do in the Army, which consists of, I believe, a master's degree, right? And placement in some of the most elite places, most confidential places in the Army.
Yeah. And they are credible, and the other ones are also ex-Google and Palantir and places like that. In our computational biology team, we have, I think, about 2/3 are PhDs or postdocs from either Berkeley, Stanford, the Weizmann Institute, MIT, or Harvard. And we, in our lab team, it's essentially the same kind of background in terms of immunology and genomics. But one of the crucial things for us in terms of hiring, it's not just bringing people that are excellent in their respective fields, but are people that deeply share this commitment to being multidisciplinary. So, our software developers, for example, for us, it's not enough to bring someone who's just, the best software developer. We want, the best software developers, but also that really want to learn about biology and about immunology and about everything else that we are doing. And having this habit of going so out of your comfort zone in terms of learning and in terms of collaboration is one of the most important things. And I think that's one of the main cultural, I would say, aspects of Immunai are all these people that are really the best in their respective areas, but they're just so interested in everything else that's going on, and they want to learn and they want to collaborate. That's very special for us.
What is it like leading a team like this? You're leading people that are each used to being the best in the room, whether it's in any of the institutions you mentioned or any of the companies. Literally every person you would meet here are people that, they have their own ground, they have their own context, their own passions, their own thought processes. It must be different leadership than, in a general team that you would find. Mm-hmm. Do you find any difference? Do you feel any difference?
Yeah, and so first, it's really, I think, an honor, right? In a way, to be working with this team. I think, starting a company and being an entrepreneur is a hard thing in general. And there's the business challenges. There's all kinds of challenges. I don't need to list them. And we just really have this honor of having this very nice, first of all, and collaborative and very talented team that just kind of solves one of the problems, right? We don't have many people issues. Everyone is very collaborative and nice. And leading a team like that, my definition is essentially just helping set the context for what we are doing, and just making sure that the team dynamics are right, and essentially letting them run the show. That's I think my definition, our definition of management here. We are not here to dictate details of what to do. We're here to help inspire, to help set the broader context, to help everyone figure out what are the higher level goals that we are doing. But we want as many of the decisions being taken in the company not to be taken by me or by my co-founder or by the usual people that would be taken. We want as many of the decisions to be taken by the people that are doing the work, and as many of the new ideas to come from them. And we're just trying to set a framework in which all of that can happen, right? And that's much more powerful. Having 50 amazing people coming up with ideas and making decisions is much more powerful than having 3.
I think also the big difference here, every single person in the team would be a prime candidate for an investor to invest in them as entrepreneurs themselves, right? These are the top people that you would trust them to build whatever products they would build. So you're literally taking, your dozens of entrepreneurs, putting them together on a mission. And I love the perspective of empowering them, but also being very dynamic and knowing how do you empower different types of people, because some do need more structured approach, some do need less structured approach. So, last month you announced the $60 million raise for the current round by some of the top investors that I can think of. Some of them have been on the show as well, which and we spoke specifically about Immunai. And the path that you're going on, and the even the problem that you're trying to solve, which is the idea. And what I loved when I read about what you're doing, now in the context of this raise, which is this transition from first, mapping our immune system and the single cell biology within our bodies and understanding, what exists, but then being able to take that a step further and saying, how can we now build on top of that and discover drugs and discover, different implications that we couldn't have even thought of before because we didn't have this visibility layer as to what's happening. So that was the dumbest way that I could explain it to myself. Can you give me a brief rundown of what problem are you solving here? And why is this the best time to do it? Because I do believe this is a crazy time to be doing this in a good way. So what is Immunai?
Yeah. So one of the methodologies in machine learning that I really wanted to make it into reality in immunology as well is this concept of transfer learning. And this allows you to take learnings in one problem and transfer them systematically, as the data and as models to another problem. So for example, in learning how to differentiate between cats and dogs. That's one of these canonical problems in computer vision. You can learn, for example, about shapes and about textures and about colors there, and leverage that to apply to different problems, how to differentiate between tables and chairs in a way. And one of the things that we are doing in Immunai is doing that for the immune system in a way. So the immune system is a central player driving all kinds of defense against diseases as well as some diseases themselves. And there's all these commonalities in how the immune system is supposed to be defending you against lung cancer or against bladder cancer, and how it can be leveraged to fight these cancers. And how and the complement of that is autoimmunity, right, where your immune system is too strong, as well as like aging-related diseases. And the point is that there's a lot in common across all of them. There are all these cell types that are playing a role. There are pathways that are doing similar things across all of them. And Immunai is the company seeing that from the top of the tree, in a way where we can take these learnings from lung cancer or from bladder cancer and transfer them to melanoma. And seeing that, from top of the tree, in a way, allows us to see all of them better. And as I mentioned with our fundraising, one of the things we're doing now is trying to develop the next generation of therapeutics that leverages that, and allows us to fight.
And how does that tangibly work? Do you just work with pharmaceutical companies on the whole drug discovery process, either by running simulations or figuring out even how to prioritize the experiments? How does the actual, there's one thing to come and do a lot of these models, theoretically within the office in Tel Aviv, but then there are these huge pharma companies in the US that are actually going and they need to deploy this knowledge that you're discovering that just the world doesn't know about it yet. So how does this actually get translated into, real world circumstances and impact that could potentially now reach 1 billion people?
Yeah. So the way this works is that we partner with specific pharma companies on specific drugs or disease areas. Mm-hmm. So, for example, we might have a partnership on the immune components of diabetes with a specific pharma company for their drug, and we help them improve their drug, or we might help them combine different drugs that they have into something that works better combined.
Right.
And so we try to do in that way, where we would partner with pharma companies to help improve their specific therapeutic program or come up with new drugs. And then we share some of the economics downstream of that, right? So it's essentially like a partnership, and we get and each benefits in their own way.
So let's play a game 5 years down the line. We're obviously sitting in a little bit of a bigger office. Hopefully the same beautiful view behind us.
Hopefully with you here as well.
With my honor. But where are we? What is the world like? How has Immunai changed the way that I live my life in 5-10 years time?
So I would say in that it will be much clearer how your immune system is keeping you young, it's keeping you healthy.
Sounds important.
And that essentially, I think we would like not just to be better drugs for diseases, but that everyone understands that the immune system is the core of their health, and that it's really what's keeping you young and healthy and free from disease. So our vision extends from building better drugs for cancer to autoimmune diseases, all the way into sort of aging-related diseases. And the most important thing is keeping people healthy, right? And I think we want Immunai to be the company that's sort of like, helping put this entire puzzle together, and helping sick people, helping healthy people live better lives.
One of the things that Noam wrote on the TechCrunch article, he wrote that we have this, Immunai has this unique privilege to move slow when needed, mm-hmm. or better wording is, not have the pressure, the economical pressure of the world to move as fast as, we have to reach ARR of this by this year and this hockey stick. You're solving a real problem. You're solving deep technology problem that, takes years to do. But at the end, I think, I couldn't think of something more exciting to work on than something that, could take years, but that it's so meaningful and it's so proprietary that if your team doesn't do it, then there might not be another team that is able to do it. That you really are, bringing together the best people in the world to solve one of the most challenging problems in the world. And from the few people that I got to meet here, I'm completely inspired by these types of problems. And if I look at the type of entrepreneur that I want to be, I'm looking at you guys as, as a model for me. I don't know if it fits, the typical entrepreneurial journey that people are excited about, but this is the type of thing that is literally transforming the world. And so thank you very much for all the work. Thank you for coming here. 20 minutes go by way too fast. But I have the most important question for you, which is 3 words that you would choose to describe yourself.
3 words. Let's say open, bold and interested.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining me here.
Thanks, Mike.
This is beautiful, and you hopefully you'll see me around here because I'm just gonna keep coming in and harassing you guys. So thank you very much.
Cool.
Take care.